Super Dave here with episode 29 of Figures, Playsets, and Accessories that may work well with Masters of the Universe Classics and or Masterverse figures, or you may just want to check these figures out in their own right as standalone figures, and that's fine too. First of all, Figma, their version 2 of the Brown Horse, number 490. Official Figma horse. I've got the white one, white horse with some of my SH Figuarts figures, but you know what? I think that this Link and Zelda that I was able to pick up today at Walmart just may work well with these horses, and we're going to find out. But I thought these would go great with kind of the elves that I've been building, kind of a group of elves for my MOTU universe, and these will work alongside of my other Zelda, or Link rather, and just check out how they measure up because they have awesome articulation at a very good price point. And there is the back of that box, and if you want to pause and read that little bio, you can now. And then here is Zelda's. And then guess what else I found? I was not a big Dungeons and Dragons fan as a child and in my youth, but when I saw this guy in the store, I instantly thought of those Masters of the Universe Filmation episodes where a little kid would be a part of the plot and would be mad at somebody and would learn a lesson from Adam and Tila and Man-at-Arms and Orko, and I just thought this guy fit the bill perfect as a short Filmation style kid in Eternia, and comes along with a little unicorn. This is Bobby and Uni. Not sure if I'm saying that right, Uni or Uni, but this is a cool little set. Made me think of Filmation, and it's like 2 for the price of 1 here on this guy. And there's the back of their box. Cool. So let's go ahead over here in Eternia, where we have our Filmation / Club Grayskull figures ready to meet these new characters. And here we are, just on the outside edges of the Evergreen Forest of Eternia. We're going to be looking at this brown Figma horse, as well as Link, Zelda, Bobby, and Uni, along with the friends that have gathered to check them out. Of course, Adora, Man-at-Arms, Prince Adam, Tila, Orko, and even the sorceress back there in the form of Zoar perched, and Roy's just here just playing some tunes while we go over the review. All right, thank you, Roy, for providing some background music. Appreciate it. All right, so here we go. Let's get ready and look at these guys' accessories. And first of all, Link comes with just a simple little sword, kind of a cheap looking sword, but it is a sword. And he does have a little harness going around his chest and back, which probably could be removed if you pop off the head and maneuver the arms just right. It is a loose floating piece, but he comes with a sword. And here is Zelda herself, the Princess of Hyrule, and she comes with a Sheikah slate. The mysterious magic of the Sheikah slate is in her hand. Has a little pouch attached to her side, but that's pretty much all the accessories that she comes with. And we're going to be taking a closer look at her, but she is really neat. And here is Billy and Uni, and he comes with a club, and of course Uni, I guess, would be his main accessory. That helmet is non-removable, but there he is. He's a little hard to get to stand, even though he has wide feet, but use a little stand there for him. But he just looks so cool. I think he looks neat and works great with these Filmation Club Grayskull characters. Now, this is no Mythic Legion horse, but he is pretty cool for his size, and we're going to see, mainly reason I pulled him into this episode is to see if he works with some of these figures here, which we're going to do that here in just a moment, because he could definitely be an added accessory to these elf, or in this case kid, size figures. Now, he does come with one of those Figma stands, which he does have a hole in the bottom, so you can get him to kind of do a rear up type pose and those kinds of things. But he does have a removable saddle, and you know, you can definitely pose him around, so he is pretty cool. But let's see if he works with any of these guys. Link actually looks really good on this Figma horse. His legs are a little bit short to reach those stirrups, even though you can take that saddle off and adjust a little strap on a peg to make those foot holding stirrups either be longer or shorter. I've got them almost as short as they'll go, and they still won't quite go in his foot right. But overall, though, he still looks really good. I was able to stick his sword through that little shoulder harness thing around his chest, like I mentioned. You can stick that down in there, and so that looks good. And yes, the size is right for this guy, for this smaller size horse, and for Link or whoever you want this to be in your Masterverse. And I'm going to have him as one of the elves, along with my actual Link. This is actually the Jakks Toys production. They're like $10, but man, looking good for 10 bucks, right? For the price of action figures today. All right, let's take a look now at Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule. And Zelda has a little bit more of a difficulty getting on there because of the articulation, which we'll look at in just a moment in articulation, but she does fit up there and she looks good. Again, the size works for this size horse, and I am very pleased with that. Looks good. Zelda, the Princess of Hyrule. And here's our Bobby riding the Figma horse. And again, you can get Bobby on there, but his feet or legs rather, are very much shorter as far as reaching that stirrup. It's not going to happen, especially with this one. And he's a little bit more difficult to kind of maneuver on there because of his short legs, but you can get him on there, and once you do, I mean, the size is right, looks good. His head may be a little big in proportion with the horse's head in some senses here, but overall, I think this works. You can make this happen in photos, and if you were wanting to use this Figma horse for this particular purpose. Now we're going to take a look at these 3, or counting Uni 4, articulation. And let's start off here with Link. And as you can see here, the paint apps are very good with this character. I did stand in the store and look over the ones that were there to try to get the best looking paint apps, and I did see one of them where that brown paint in between the cuffs was a little sloppy, but mine looked good there. So it's going to be like a lot of other action figures, depending on which one you get. And fortunately, they do have the plastic front, so you can check them out before you buy them. And as I was saying, even though this is a little loose here, there is a spot of glue back here. I was mistaken on that, but you can still put the sword back there, but I'm going to go ahead and pull that out for the sake of looking at his articulation. But as you see, with this head articulation, he is not really going to be able to look up. You can look down just a slight amount. He's going to be able to look side to side. He's going to have a little bit of pivot there. He's going to be able to go 360 with those arms, better than 90 degrees. Not a bicep swivel, but a little bit of a sleeve swivel. Underneath that sleeve, a swivel there. Double jointed elbows, which is excellent range there. And of course, swivel and horizontal hinge at the wrist. So that is excellent, and you get the same on this side for both arms. Then in this midsection, you do get a little bit of a hula hoop action. He doesn't really crunch forward. That's about as much as you're going to get. You know, very little back and forth there, but you are going to be able to get a little bit of side to side and turn a slight amount side to side like that, because what you have here is you have like an upper ball joint up in there, but it's just very limited, very limited. All right, this soft rubbery skirt does pull out of the way so that you can bring those legs up like that. You have thigh rotation, double jointed knees. You do not have boot cut, but you have that thigh rotation. You have the ability to go down just about all the way with those toes, tiptoes. Not really going to go up very much, but does have excellent rockers. Even for a small little character for $10, even has toe articulation there. Isn't that awesome? And has a peg hole in the bottom. So that is good. And by the way, also, and see, it will pop loose. I've had that happen with the Zelda also when I was putting her on the horse, but it's not, they're not real loose. They're just, if you take them to the limit, they're going to pop off, but it pops right back on with no problem. But as you see, that's about as far as he's going to get with the skirt. Even though it does have a slit on either side, that's as far as you're going to get for splits. But that's fine. It's going to be able to kick forward about that much. Not really going to be able to kick back at all. But overall, for a $10 action figure, pretty decent articulation. It looks great. You're going to be able to really pose him up, and especially with that horse, I'm liking this idea. And we'll look at him, of course, with MOTU figures here in just a moment as well. Taking a look at Zelda, let's bring her in a little closer here. And her paint apps are also very well done. I really like that long blonde hair. It's really cool. The little midsection. Just the paint work that is done, even in this section here, this little jewel area, it's just looks good. Looks very clean. The eyes are perfect. All right, but the articulation is disappointing compared to Link's. Zelda is not going to be able to look up. She can barely look down any. You're really not going to be able to get the head to do a whole lot of turning just because this big thick hair in the back, but it will lift up. It's soft enough to lift up and go over the shoulder, so you can turn it some, but very limited. Just a tiny bit of head pivot there, but it's going to be limited. All right, as far as the shoulders, you are going to be able to get 360, gets around there. You're also going to be able to do better than 90 degrees, you know, a great Y pose instead of a T pose there. There is no bicep swivel or even a sleeve like there was with Link. I mean, Zelda has very limited, not even an elbow swivel, which is very disappointing, but does have the ability to go up. And you can kind of twist that shoulder joint a little bit to get it up like that, but it pretty much, you're not going to be able to get her to cross over in front of her body, or even, you know, that way. Not be able to go that way or that way any more than that, which makes it a little bit more difficult when she's holding her Sheikah slate, to, like, you would want to be able to cross this hand over to touch it. You can't do that because there's no articulation, no bicep swivel there to make that happen. So that's a disappointment. Wish they had figured out a way, even if they had just put a cut, you know, there so it swiveled, kind of like Marvel Legends does, would have been better than nothing. All right, she is going to be able to bend forward just a little bit by kind of pulling on that ball joint, and back just a slight amount, and gets excellent turning. Doesn't really get as much side to side as Link did, but you have more free-flowing turn there. The legs only go about that far. Again, you do not get full splits, which was making it a little bit more difficult for her. She even goes less a little bit that way than Link did, so Zelda's not able to go quite as far, even as we were trying to put her on that horse and stuff. But not really any thigh swivel either on this one, which is another disappointment, whereas Link had that. Still have the double jointed knees, but it just looks really weird. They did not execute this very well at all. It's just, it looks kind of broken up here in this leg, so as you can see. And we don't get any kind of boot swivel on this either, so you don't have thigh swivel, you don't have any kind of knee swivel or boot swivel, so you're really limited. But you do have a swivel at the ankle, so that helps some, but not as much as it would have been up here. You're going to be able to get pretty much full tiptoes. You're going to be able to go up just until it hits that cuff, and then again, she has, for such a tiny little foot, a toe hinge. Isn't that wild? But I would have sacrificed that to have gotten a thigh rotation up here, which would have helped tremendously, and a bicep swivel or some kind of swivel, even if they had built it into the elbow. But so yeah, the articulation on Zelda is nowhere near as good as it was on Link. All right, so bringing Bobby on in here, let's zoom in closer and take a closer look at this guy. Let's go ahead and take his club out. That's kind of like a wood grain club that's kind of a satin shine to it there. It's not like the most convincing wood, but I mean, you get the point across. And another thing I will mention is his hand is not very big, and this club is solid plastic, and it's hard for him to kind of hold on to that. It'll sometimes fall out of his hand very easy. It will you got to find a sweet spot to hold it, and it's not very easy to pose around. But anyway, you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute when we look at articulation. Overall, though, this guy looks great with the paint apps. His face is perfect. I mean, the face looks really good with those freckles and those blue eyes. The smirk on his face looks really cool. I think I mentioned already the helmet is non-removable. Not sure about this covering. I don't think you could get that off without cutting a side of it, but that's really cool looking. It's got the little loincloth like He-Man and them have, even the boots with the little fur around it. So and some of the other Dungeons and Dragons action figures have that same kind of motif, but they look kind of animated looking. This guy does too, but not quite as much as some of the other ones. So I think this guy works better than even some of the others, in my opinion. But moving on to the articulation, he does have a hinge and ball joint up underneath there. You can see that hinge under there, so he's going to be able to look up a good amount, because his hair will hit the back before it will go up, too far. He's going to be able to look down all the way. He is also going to get some head pivoting, which is good. Of course, he'll turn side to side, so you're going to be able to get a good amount of range out of that head. He will be able to go 360 with that arm. He will also be able to go up just a little bit better than 90, but there is no bicep swivel. But instead of bicep swivel, you have a elbow swivel. You have a single jointed elbow, but still gets pretty good range. And you also have even a hinge, a horizontal hinge and swivel at that little hand, which, look at that tiny little hand. It works out great. Just the details here look good with this guy, I think. He does have a little bit of a diaphragm swivel and movement there at the waist, and of course can turn side to side, but you're not really going to get a whole lot of crunching. That's about as far forward as he's going to crunch forward, and he's only going to bend back maybe just a hair. I mean, not much at all. And before we leave arms and top torso area, this does have a vertical hinge to hold that club. Isn't that cool? That little hand has a vertical hinge and will swivel. So that's a little different from the other side, so I want to mention it. And then these legs, he's going to get almost full splits. Not quite, but they will go about that far. And before it hits the that side part, even though there are splits there or slits in the loincloth, that's about as far as he's going to go there. He is going to be able to kick forward about that far. He's going to be able to go back a little bit as well. Double jointed knees, and I did have again one of my lower joints lock up, but he'll go really good with that joint there. He also has boot cut, and he has full tiptoes for that shoe boot area. Will go up a good amount. And check this out, he has excellent rockers for that little foot. No toe hinge like those other guys, but hey, this guy's rocking it with articulation, and also has a peg hole in the bottom, which you've already seen me use a little stand for that. So overall, I think he has pretty good articulation. The legs, are a little bit limited, and of course not having a bicep swivel, and then the diaphragm crunch. They had put like maybe a hinge in there because it would have been covered with this. Maybe you could have got forward a little bit more, but overall I think they did a great job, and you're still going to be able to pose him up and do some cool things with him. And while we're on this dude, let's go ahead and bring Uni in here. He basically has no articulation in his legs or tail or anything, but he does have a good ball joint so that he can look down and up and side to side and get some head pivoting so that he can keep up with his friend, his pal, Bobby. I guess they're friends anyway. But yeah, he's going to be able to keep up with him. So that's really neat, and I will take that. Even though, it'd been neat if they had maybe done some wired legs so that you could have at least bent them or something. But, it is what it is, and the face, that is just cool. Really, really neat. So he's got his little buddy. Prince Adam, I don't like it in Eternia. I want to go back home. My uncle always makes me come here to the palace and visit the king and you and Man-at-Arms and Orko, and I'm bored. I want to go home. Well, you'll be able to go home soon. Maybe you can go with me and Cringer to the water and draw some water. Oh, that sounds boring. All right. You can see that they fit in really good here. I think they just match up great with Prince Adam and Man-at-Arms over here. And of course you can see Link over there talking to Adora. And only downside with Link again is him not being able to look up at all. He's not able to look up and give, you know, Adora eye contact. So you're gonna have to get creative and, you know, with that. Same with Zelda. She's checking out, you know, Cringer back there with Tila and talking to him. But anyway, again, they just all match up really well here in the Filmation aura of things. And now let's do some comparisons. And to look at things on kind of the elf scene, let's round out some of our elves with some elf children, because here we have a woman elf from the Magic the Gathering action figures, and you know, pointy ears, and of course Figma's Link there, and I really like him. He's kind of like the full-grown elf Link there, whereas this one is kind of a lot shorter, almost like the child version. Even in the face he looks younger. But I mean, you know, you can pretend, and then here's Zelda, and you can make her somebody else as well, or one of the little girls in the elf village or whatever. So, you know, there again, it's only limited to your imagination. And there's a Marvel Legends character checking out Zelda's Sheikah slate, and that's pretty cool. They look good together because I put him along with my elves as well. I think he looks good. Y'all seen him before in my videos if you've watched them. Alongside of this guy, I like putting them together as friends or part of the same, you know, group over here. But then there is Link talking to Avery and Masterverse Stratos, because there's Fortnite's The Valkyrie by Jazzwares, as you can check out my video on Stratos and see all about that. But yeah, that is really cool. Looking good there. Stratos and his daughter Avery, and our little Link here talking. Cool. And here's the gang together, so you can kind of get another look at them here. Looking really good with this set of figures. And in case you want to see them alongside of some of the other figures like Masterverse, and here's our gang with some Thundercats, some elves, and of course Masterverse, Masters of the Universe figures there. Battle Armor He-Man, Revelation Tila in her Captain of the Guard outfit, Man-at-Arms. There's even Fisto over there. Even Cowl has joined the ranks. And of course Lion-O back there too. So they're just looking after everybody and checking out everybody here. And Bobby and Uni, they're just kind of doing their own thing, scouting out over here. But there you can see kind of how they fit in. And so yeah, you got some elves or some children and whatever you want to use your imagination for. So yeah, I think these guys look great with this group, and you can use them, you know, wherever you want to in their own right, or pair them with some of your other mythos figures just like this. So cool. Thank you so much for joining us for this Super Dave review. Please come back and see us again soon, as we will be continuing to do some reviews. Like if you've enjoyed this, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. That really helps the channel out a lot, and I really appreciate everyone who has subscribed. It just really makes a difference, and we appreciate you coming back and seeing us soon. Here's some photos in the photo gallery.